Somewhere beyond the recesses of time and space, two podcasters are set adrift in a machine, picking up transmissions of movies that are forgotten but not gone.
So I feel like as much as people in culture have like nostalgia for old New York or like New York in the 80s or whatever, I have nostalgia for fake New York City sets from the 90s.
Okay.
Because I feel like because this movie was shot in LA and on sound stages, and I was having the same reaction to some of these New York sets as I was to the cowboy towns in Lightning Jack, where it's like, I know I've seen that in another movie.
You might have seen these sets in another movie we've done, because this was shot on the Paramount backlot, baby. That's where Simone was shot.
I mean, okay, well, actually, yeah. So maybe when he and Catherine Keener are sitting in the golf cart or something on the New York street, that could be it. I think specifically the alley that the gangsters chase Kadeem down. Mm-hmm. There's like they're driving down the alley behind him, and there's like some kind of like abandoned sky bridge between two warehouses that's overhead, and it's like I've seen that thing. I've seen so many people get roughed up in this alley. Like, is this the alley where they're beating up Crocodile Dundee and Reginald Vell Johnson pulls the thing off the car and throws it like a boomerang?
It quite well could be. I mean, it's like the Back to the Future clock tower, where you once you see it in other films, you're like, wait a minute. Marty should be hanging off the top of that, or Doc Brown should be hanging off the top of that.
Yeah, because I've heard this from people who live in New York that they're always complaining, New York doesn't have alleys. So whenever there's a movie in New York where people are in an alley, it's like, well, that's not actually there. So like
one of my all-time favorites, Jason Takes Manhattan, is almost entirely in Vancouver alleys that are made to look like New York.
Well, so because then the other famous New York movie that's aggressively not shot in New York, Rumble in the Bronx, I'm wondering, wait, is this the alley where they're flinging the beer bottles at Jackie Chan and hitting him with the baseball? I don't know. I just like something. As someone who has only been to New York like a couple times in his life and mainly interacts with it through movies, there's just something about fake versions of New York that are actually, in fact, in LA, a city I live in, that really warm my heart.
There is, and horror actually a certain brand of horror utilizes the backlot in a lot of ways, especially the 80s, and of like a certain budget, like Joe Dante. Gremlins. I know I talk about Gremlins a lot on the show.
I think lots of movie podcasters talk about Gremlins. Gremlins is just sort of an important film.
But Gremlins is to me how Mark Wahlberg is to you, apparently.
You're its best friend?
Yeah, exactly.
You've seen Gremlins' penis?
Gremlins, like Joe Dante in The Burbs, a number of his films uses backlot sets to, it creates this kind of uncanny, kind of contained universe in a way. It gives a vibe to a film, and this is also it fits very well into that.
Listen, I am on record having a difficult relationship with the film Eyes Wide Shut, but my favorite thing about it is that Stanley Kubrick, famously afraid of flying, built like a couple square blocks of fake New York on a soundstage in England and shot the whole thing there. And what I love about the movie is the very weirdly contained, hermetic, very realistic but fake version of New York that they have there. And
it very subtly breaks your brain in a way that you don't realize.
Yeah, it's like a ship in a bottle or like a snow globe or something like that. as someone who got very deep into building a small Lego city in his room during the height of the pandemic, I guess I can appreciate creating a model of a real urban environment that you can make perfect.
That's your vibe. I think I'm fascinated with picking out the storefronts of like small suburban town, like in the Monster Squad. How much that little stretch of storefronts has been used in so many other films. I think it was also possibly in Night of the Creeps, which makes sense because it's Decker does both of those. Fred Decker does both of those, but once you start to like recognize, oh, I've seen that Mike's Hardware storefront before.
There was a basic cable. It was Sci-Fi Channel, which was basic cable. This is a pointless level of detail. There was a show on Sci-Fi Channel when I was in high school called Eureka, which was about a sci-fi town in Oregon where it's a small secret government town where all the super geniuses live, and this guy is a sheriff there, and there's kooky sci-fi stuff he has to deal with. That was shot in Vancouver, and they built Main Street of Eureka there, and then after that show went off the air, they have now just been using that town for other stuff, and nothing will take me out of your low-budget Hulu show faster than if I see you walking down Eureka Main Street, but you're trying to tell me it's some other town. It's like, no, fuck you, dude. Fuck you, Vancouver. Build a new town. That one is burnt.
You made reference to this in the main episode, and I find it kind of funny about the basic nature of this movie's title.
Yes.
But this is certainly not the first horror film to do it, which is like a Mad Libs version of a title generator.
Mm-hmm.
Name a monster, name a place, and put the word in between. So like American Werewolf in London. I'm waiting for the generator to spit out, because there was also American Werewolf in Paris.
Yes.
I want to see American Werewolf in America.
Yeah, I know. Send him back home. Like we've been building up to that. We've seen the origin story. As someone who recently got back from an international trip, I can tell you that coming back to your homeland after being abroad, it puts you in a new frame of mind. I'd like to see what that does to the American Werewolf.
I think there's also there's so Werner Herzog did his version of Nosferatu in the 70s with Klaus Kinski.
Mm-hmm.
I think Klaus Kinski did. I know he did a sequel to it, but I think it's called A Vampire in Venice. Yes, it is in 1988. So there's even precedent for a vampire in a place.
And there's also precedent for a haunting in a place, to wit, Venice.
Oh, true. Yes. All right.
Venice,
okay. So
Venice needs their own Ghostbusters with all of the weird shit going on there.
Let's. Do you have a pen and paper by any chance by you?
Okay. Yes, I have a pen and paper by me, and I had it right there.
I want you. Let's do our own Mad Libs version of this name generator and create a movie.
Okay.
So I'll take the monster side of things. You take the location side of things, and you hold up yours. I'll hold up mine, and we'll reveal our movie title.
Oh, okay. So we each just write down one.
You write down a location. I'm going to write down a monster. Yes.
Okay. Does it have to be Does it have to be a specific place, or like a more general locale, as in like a type of
Venice, Brooklyn, London? I mean, at least city size. I wouldn't say Earth.
Okay. Well, that takes one of them off. What if the leprechaun wants to come back to Earth?
Well, granted, he went to space. I guess that's as broad as Earth.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
All right. I got mine. You got yours?
Okay. I'm ready.
I'm going to hold up mine. You hold up yours, and let's reveal on 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Killer Clowns in Ypsilanti, Michigan. That would be...
Honestly, not too far removed from the actual Killer Clowns from Outer Space movie.
I mean, I guess the Midwest is a richly traveled place for horror monsters and stuff.
I would watch that. Killer Clowns in Ypsilanti, Michigan.
Do we want to take one more? Have you got another monster on deck?
Yeah, one more.
Okay.
One more. All right.
Yeah.
Let me know when you got yours. I'm writing mine down right now. Foley.
Okay. All right. Three, two, 1. All right. Chucky in Sandals Resort, Jamaica.
I would watch it.
I would watch that. I think so. Is the reason they make so many horror movies because it's incredibly easy to come up with a premise?
Kind of. I mean, the lore behind Leprechaun 4 in space is at the Leprechaun 3 wrap party. They were in a production office, and someone saw an Apollo 13 poster and said, "What if we did Leprechaun in space?" And the person next to him was like, "I will fund that. Let's do that."
Welcome to the Dream Factory. Welcome to the movies. That's how it happens. It reminds me of there's a video game called Untitled Goose Game in which you are just a goose who runs around ruining a bunch of English people's day. Great game, but that won Game of the Year. It was an enormously successful game, but the entire concept for it they've shown just like it was a Slack discussion by these game developers at this studio where one of them just put a picture of a goose up in Slack and said, "We should make our next game about one of these things." And then it's just all them talking about like it's weird how the entire animal is just two colors. It's either white or orange. And, like look how weird its chest looks. Like they just, sometimes
they're forgetting their black beady little eyes.
Oh god, yes, the black beady eyes, much like the greatest villain of all time, Feathers McGraw from The Wrong Trousers. Those glinting black dead eyes really do everything.
There is the comedy version of this title generator as well, which is it's the same exact structure. You just replace "in" with "goes to."
Yes.
So Chucky in Sandals Resort in Jamaica, horror film. Chucky goes to Sandals Resort in Jamaica, comedy.
You know what? Chucky deserves a vacation. He has been working very hard. He's got a kid, all that, and he's still working, killing people. Even I, who was severely traumatized by the concept of Chucky throughout my childhood, I think he should get some time to relax. I will just say, by way of talking about Chucky, I was recently in a very small town in Mexico, walking down the street, and I passed, and it was quite hot outside, everyone had their doors open, and walking past a house and glancing in the doorway, there was just people on a small TV, the family inside, or the kids at least, were watching a Chucky movie. Very blindingly hot night in La Pinita, Mexico. There are Chucky fans all over this world.
Okay, I want to touch on something real quick that I'm surprised you didn't flag in the main episode, because it seems like a line written by Truman Caps. Eddie Murphy and Angela Bassett are toward the end of the film. He's trying to get her to embrace vampirism, and is trying to teach her how to feed, and they're in the top of a tree.
Yeah, I know. Do the thing. There's this white lady walking her dog, and then they jump down and they corner her, and she's like screaming. But then just before they attack her, she says, "I understand the Negro people. I understand how you've been chained down by white capitalist society." And it's like, boy, the movie took a direct shot right at white guilt. That is, I'd like to think that I would refer to black people in a better way, but I would probably say something like that right before getting killed by an Eddie Murphy vampire.
It was a moment that really made me giggle at the moment, and it's the type of part that, if ever given the chance, like I don't want to be a star, I don't want to pursue acting, I just want one little thing that will live on in film history in a tiny little corner. A line like this, one single line in a movie, that's what I strive for in life.
It's my bucket
list.
I support that, and I want that for you. And I just, when you were talking about a line that you felt resonated so much with me, I thought you were referring to when she's talking to Eddie Murphy about how she's all she's ever known is Brooklyn, and he says, "There's no place you can go," and she says, "No place the subway doesn't run." And I'm just thinking, like, yeah, great, you can get everywhere you need to on the subway. Awesome. I don't need to go anywhere the subway doesn't run either. We should all be so blessed to live in Brooklyn.
Oh, public transit. Truman, should we play the trailer game?
That's our out on the shenanigans is, oh, public transit.
That's
folks,
what I brought to the table.
Folks, like this movie went really hard the entire time, but this podcast is running out of gas. Something that you don't have to worry about if you ride the subway. Oh, public transit. Let's play the trailer game.
For those of you who are just tuning in, the trailer game.
They get it. They know what it is.
We haven't watched the trailer for this yet, and we're gonna pick some moments out of the movie that we think might be in the trailer.
Just jump through this. You don't need to know this.
Listen, we're still in the first season. I feel like I'm gonna explain it for a few more times at least.
Okay, great. It'll really sink in then. We should
just like vampire teeth into your neck. And you said I was out of steam.
Public transit. I'm just now thinking this is like Orson Welles doing a commercial for the New York City MTA. Public transit.
Do you have any guesses for what is going to be in the trailer? I've got a few big contenders, I think.
I feel like Eddie Murphy coming straight up out of the fog, like lifting up at the 45-degree angle or something. I think that's going to be in there.
Yes. I think the whole thing from him getting shot, falling down, getting back up, and saying, "Interesting, I've been burned, I've been blah blah blah." That whole bit, I think, is going to be in there.
Yeah. Cool. I'll put that in.
I think Angela Bassett waking up from a nightmare.
Oh, yeah, Bassett nightmare wake up. Yep. So her thrashing around in bed, showing the audience that if you suffer from night terrors, this movie's for you.
I mean, this movie's going to be marketed as an Eddie Murphy comedy, right?
Yes, I think so. I mean, that's the only way. They knew the only way they could recoup any of their money is if they outright lied about the kind of movie this was.
Yeah.
I think there's got to be something with Kadeem Hardison like falling apart, like something with his hand while he's waxing the limo. That's the least like egregious. You're not going to show his eye falling out. You're not going to show his ear falling off. I think the hand is such a simple gag that you could get away with it in a trailer. There might be like, I'm trying to think if also we're going to get that in that same scene, Eddie Murphy coming out and seeing the limo and being like, you get this at a wedding, and Kadeem going, a funeral, and Eddie Murphy like nodding and smiling.
Oh, fucking good call.
That just sets up the
tone.
The false tone that isn't there, but like, it's a buddy comedy about vampires.
Yeah. Okay, this is going to be an easy one. I think we got to see Eddie Murphy as Preacher, Eddie Murphy as Guido.
Yeah, Murphy Preacher, Murphy Guido. Now, for extra credit, is it going to be the announcer going, featuring Eddie Murphy, Murphy, and Eddie Murphy?
No, I don't think there's going to be a voiceover to that degree in this one. There might be a voiceover, but it's not going to be like a comedy voiceover.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think there. I'm going to put my bet. This isn't for points, but just my personal bet. I'm waging there's no voiceover in this one.
Yeah, I could see there being no voiceover as well. I like my personal bet is I think it's going to start out with like trying to act like, it's a straight horror thing. It's going to be like, shots of the boat coming in and whatever,
like a
and
fake
people
out?
around. Yeah, and then and then it's just urban music playing, and I say urban with heavy air quotes the way that the studio
copyright
executives.
free urban music. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's like that's how that's how you know this is a vampire movie with a twist. Yeah, that's my thought at least.
I have one more, and I don't know if that's giving us extra credit or not, but
yeah, it'll take us to 6, but let's go to 6. Who cares? Nothing matters. We've run out of gas.
I think grabbing the snake.
Grabbing the snake? Hello.
And I don't mean when Kadeem feels to see if his dick is still there. I mean,
yes, Eddie
in
Murphy,
the club.
Yeah,
when the snake is about to attack Rita, and Eddie Murphy grabs it out of thin air, or out of midair.
Yeah, well, he reaches out towards the snake that we can repeatedly see the pane of glass between it and Angela Bassett.
Yes.
That's a piece of old movie making that we don't really get anymore with CGI, is them putting a snake behind glass and just sort of hoping that we can't see it.
Yeah, well, I think we're at a place now where very little animal handling is done on sets anymore. They're almost all CGI animals at this point.
You know what? And worse for the movie, but better for the animals. So I guess we call it a wash.
I'm not arguing about that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But,
no, and I've never once thought we actually need to have a monkey interacting with real human beings.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Should we watch this trailer?
Let's watch this trailer. Rated
All
R.
audiences.
Ooh, scary music.
For centuries, they
Oh,
have
voiceover.
roamed the earth. Fearsome creatures of
They're
the
treating
night,
it as a straight horror movie.
endlessly seeking to satisfy an
That-
unyielding hunger.
But they're already showing Eddie Murphy.
Oh. Explosion. Record scratch.
Now, the world's last vampire is about to encounter something infinitely more terrifying than himself.
New York City. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh. Comes back up. Boom. Murphy Lifton.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I've been stabbed
Yeah.
and I've been hanged.
You got
My
it.
God.
I've been broken on the rack once, but I've never been shot before. Kind of itches a little.
Yeah, they're going for comedy.
Pictures presents
I am shocked that you nailed the tone of this thing.
Oh my God.
I already had Italian.
Should have guessed that one.
Eddie
Yeah.
Murphy,
Do I look like I would buy a
He
jeep?
does a little cape thing
Angela
there.
Bassett,
You bet not. Not after the day I've had.
Eddie Murphy,
Come on! There's a lot of love in this room. Look at this.
and Eddie Murphy.
I told you.
You did. Evil is good.
Evil is good. What?
If he
Oh, I forgot about
falls
that
here,
thunderbolt. Yeah.
Quickest way to a woman's heart?
Ooh.
Through the church.
Naked writing.
Actually through the rib cage, but that's a bit messy.
Not blown
being
up.
undead
The Superman.
Oh, the hand.
got the dropsies.
Dropsies.
won't be worth living.
Dropsies.
We don't actually see the hand, but we see the he lost
You
it.
try anything funny, I'll shoot you.
Vampire
Oh,
in
women.
Brooklyn.
I would love to have you for dinner.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Wow. We called it completely.
We nailed that one.
Well, I mean, we didn't get as high a score as we've gotten other times, but we, in terms of dialing in completely the tone, we we didn't have enough faith in ourselves. We should have just believed in it, or I should have advocated harder for, yes, it's going to be the narrator saying Eddie Murphy 3 times.
I have to admit, yeah, I mean, as you said in the previous episode, like, we learned nothing from these trailers. So,
No.
like, from moment to moment, I don't know, like, should have, I feel like I want to kick myself and say that I should have known, but, like, how could I have known?
I mean, so, yeah, we don't get Angela Bassett waking up from the nightmare, and we
Yeah.
don't get the whole limo funeral thing,
Yeah.
and we don't get him grabbing the snake, but we completely nailed the hand falling off. Like the most bullseye in the world is him getting shot, lifting back up, and doing the whole speech. Like, that's
Yeah.
an impressive level of detail to completely get
Well, and I don't know that you wrote it as a point, but just the whole tone of it starting as a horror film and then the record scratch,
Yeah.
he's going to run into a formidable foe in New York
it. Yes.
as a villain.
Also the movie, you know, the trailer starts with like all of these vampire-y shots of you know, clearly Eddie Murphy the vampire drinking
Yeah.
blood, but then they're
That
trying to
surprised
make it a surprise when Eddie Murphy lifts up, and it's like, well, I guess they just didn't have that much footage to work with. They can't really, there's not a lot in this
Right.
movie that's horror-y that you can
Yeah.
suggest it's a horror movie with
It's
without
almost
Eddie
like-
Murphy.
It's almost clowning on itself, going, Eddie Murphy's going to star in a real horror movie playing a vampire. Just kidding, it's a comedy. And it's like, but it's kind of neither of those things and kind of both of those things.
There's really no way that you can not lie about promoting this movie. Because if you're going to promote this movie in which Eddie Murphy plays 3 roles, no one is going to believe you if you say, Eddie Murphy plays 3 roles in this kind of dramatic movie. So you have to basically tell people it's a larf 'em up comedy instead. Yeah. It puts me in mind of on 30 Rock. There is one episode where Tracy decides to make a movie about Thomas Jefferson in which he will play Thomas Jefferson as well as multiple other roles, but is insistent that it be a drama. It's kind of that thing.
I would watch John Lithgow do that.
He's great. Okay, so we got 3 out of 6. We got.
Well, the 6 is the extra credit, so technically it's 3 out of 5.
Oh, okay. That's a funny way to look at it. It's like when it benefits us, we have a lot of extras.
That's what they did in grade school. You got the extra credit question. You could get 9 out of 10 if you get 8 right, and you get the extra credit question.
I never went for the extra credit because I was lazy as hell and would rather be thinking about playing GoldenEye. We've got also so Kadeem's hand falling off, and then Eddie Murphy the preacher and Eddie Murphy the Guido. The Guido. His name is Guido. I'm sorry, not using that slur. Impressive stuff. We really nailed it this time.
All right, well, let's send... Again, I'm always startled at having to send something back to modern memory. Like, we don't do it that often, so we put it in the transporter and send it back to 2024.
Yeah, I mean, and the best part about our transporter that sends things back to modern memory, totally silent. It doesn't make a noise. It's amazing how that works, isn't it? Like, everything else on here has a lot of kind of noticeable sci-fi sound effects, but not that machine. Probably because we don't use it that often.
Yeah. All right. Well, then, speaking of cool sound effects, I want to hear that printer printout noise to see where the machine is going to be sending us next.
All right. Well, hey, turn up your volume, everybody. Let's find out. Okay, looks like next we're heading to June 12th, 1998.
Oh, only 3 years in the future from now. And this is saying, okay, here's the clue. Mayday, Mayday, we're coming in for a meet cute.
Okay, so I guess this is about 2 people who meet at kind of a socialist organizing event at the beginning of spring. They're dancing around the maypole to celebrate workers' rights, and they fall in love. Frankly, this sounds like my kind of movie. I'm excited. I preemptively want to remember this one.
We will, I guess, be finding out what that movie is next week when we return to the movie memory machine.
You say I guess, like there's a possibility that in the next episode we won't find out what the movie is. We're just gonna...
I don't know. I mean, we're traversing through time and space here. Anything could happen to disrupt our path through these journeys that we go on.
Yeah, look, tune in next week. Maybe we'll be talking about this movie, or maybe I'm just going to be playing the spoons against my leg the entire time while Landon accompanies me on the washboard.
What if we run out of memory juice between now and then, and we get stuck somewhere between 95 and 98? What if we get stranded in 1996 somewhere?
If we get stranded in 1996, my God, I don't know. I guess I could finally watch this West Wing that everybody's been talking about.
What if we accidentally run into one of the forgotten movies that sends us off our, trajectory and sends us careening into like the 1700s where there's not even movies to cover?
I mean, look, then it'll be Painting Memory Machine, and we talk about all the oil on canvas paintings that everybody forgot existed, which, again, kind of my wheelhouse. I wrote an art history script. Let's do it. So people are calling it the worst podcast of all time.
All right, well, I'm glad that we have at least some sort of backup plan should something go awry out here.
Either way, we're set for life. Anyway, until next week, I've been Truman Caps for Landon Solano.
And I've been Landon Solano for Truman Caps. See you next week. Whoa!
Movie Memory Machine is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/gruntworkpodcast to keep the machine running. Theme song by Porky's Groove Machine. Rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. For more information on today's show, visit moviememorymachine.com.